Am I the a-hole for prioritizing my parents over my stepdaughter's wedding? Well, part of me is like, how long do people spend thinking about these titles to craft it in such a way where you're like, well, it doesn't sound good, and then immediately underneath it you see the vote of no, you're not the a-hole, and you're like, this is about to get interesting. Hello, if you're new here. My name is Jamie Wolfer. I'm your online wedding planner, and about once a month I like to do an AITA wedding Reddit reaction. I gotta come up with a shorter title. You get the thing. And today's video is no different. It's time that we do this. It's time that we talk about this. In today's video, we're going to be pointing the finger at the parentals, right? Because let me tell you, as an experienced wedding planner who's been doing this for 8 years now, usually it's not the brides that are the issue. Usually, I'm totally honest, it's the parents. It's the parents. Like, I have never had a bridezilla, but I have totally had momzillas on more than one occasion. So you can understand my lack of surprise, right? When I went to go onto Reddit and kind of was just searching through some of the titles, and quite a few of them are from parents in general. So I gathered up a few of them and figured, why not? Let's just talk about them together, shall we? So without further ado, let's just jump right on into it. We interrupt today's video for a brief word from our sponsors. If you want to make sure that you are, in fact, not the a-hole at your own wedding day with your own wedding party, please make sure that they don't look like this. Now, I know most of you look at this photo and see a strapping young man, right? Very attractive. I would hazard to agree with you, since I married him and everything. However, the amount of times he referred to his outfit as a sausage casing over the course of a one-weekend period, I could not count on one hand. It required two. This suit is poor-fitting. This suit is ill-fitting. This suit was required that we picked it up and dropped it off all within a 24-hour period at a location that was several hours away from where the wedding was taking place. Everything about this suit rental experience was not good. If you would like to not be the a-hole with your wedding party, might I suggest instead shopping with Generation Tux, where those who are wearing suits in your wedding party can instead look like this: a debonair man in a suit that actually properly fits his person. Guys, all jokes aside, we talk a lot about those in the wedding party that are wearing dresses feeling super comfortable and making sure you find something that works with everybody, but we don't talk about it with suits. And I think it's really important to make sure that those who are wearing suits, the guys in your wedding party, feel good. They should feel confident. They should feel comfortable. They should feel stylish. They should in no way feel like they borrowed their dad's suit for prom. And that's why I love Generation Tux so much, is because they send it out to fit your wedding party's measurement. They have this really cool avatar. All you have to do is go in, add your height, your weight, and your body style, and you don't even have to be measured. They've worked with them for years. They are my favorite. I love how their suits look, and I love how they make people feel. So if you too would also like to not be the a-hole with your wedding party and make sure they look good so you look good, click right here to check out Generation Tux for yourself. And now, back to the real a-holes. So, I'm the owner of a wonderful rescued macaw. She is a wonderful bird, but has a lot of issues due to an abusive former home. Well, that's really sad. I've had her for 3 years, and since then haven't taken any vacations or trips away as it would be too disruptive for her. She distrusts everyone and is very reliant on her routine. I love her deeply, and I'm happy to make sacrifices for her. They are permanent toddlers and very intelligent birds. That's an interesting way of putting that. I met my husband by the time his kids were older. My stepdaughter was 16 at the time. We married when she moved away for college. Nevertheless, I thought we'd managed to have a decent relationship until now. My stepdaughter is getting married in March, and naturally there's a lot of preparation involved. They're wanting a huge traditional wedding, and she is stressed out of her mind. They lived out of state, and she invited me recently to come visit her for a week to help make wedding plans and spend time with their 2-year-old. I declined, and she insisted to know why, acting very hurt, and I explained the parent. Well, it all went downhill from there. She caused a massive fuss with her dad, saying she never got a mother figure and I never accepted her as my full-blood daughter. This is the ultimate snub for a silly animal. Well, now we're oversimplifying things for the sake of the argument, dear stepdaughter. That I'm cold and emotionless. I feel really hurt and can tell he agrees with her even though he's refusing to take sides. You sure you can tell? Just run that through one more time, okay? Just because I don't want you to make assumptions because your feelings are already hurt. But I don't see why I should be expected to take holiday time off work to babysit and bond all of a sudden, and I don't see how I'm a monster for this. Am I the a-hole here? Okay, couple of edits. Great, so wait, she just wanted you to take time off for a week to help her make wedding plans. Okay, I'm already agreeing with Redditors. I can't see how you're the a-hole here. Maybe you can't take time off work, or maybe it's a combination of things. Maybe it is truly because of this rehab parrot, which if y'all are new here, I'm a huge animal lover. We've got 50, 60 animals, most of them are chickens, okay? And goats and horses and dogs and cats. And I love animals. And we actually don't vacation because we milk our goats. So we don't go anywhere. Ever. So part of this I relate to on some level. Okay. But it seems like the request is that you would just take a week off of work to come help her with planning her wedding because she's stressed. And then it sounds like she got ugly and started name calling and flailing stuff out there and if flailing is the proper word, of course, because her feelings are hurt and she's stressed. Let's read some of these edits. Edit. Context of our relationship. We don't usually talk at all and she hasn't visited home in 4 years. Okay, so more distant relationship. Edit 2. Beginning to think it was a mistake posting this, mostly because this is a real and nuanced situation and Reddit is no place for nuance. I agree. Most of the time people are very quick to click that vote, right? Usually I like to take everything with a grain of salt and pour a lot of grace on the situation because I do think that these relationships are nuanced. But back to the topic at hand. And maybe personal relationships shouldn't be judged in the context in the first place, but also because I should be more understanding and a bigger person regardless of who is or isn't the a-hole. Life is too short to be butthurt and offended. Cross-stitch that on a pillow. I called my stepdaughter and told her I understand this is a big moment in her life and she wants someone to be there to help her and support her. And that I'm still willing to help her in any way I can to plan the wedding via Zoom and virtually. That's very kind. We talked a bit and I asked her why she hadn't accepted me reaching out in the past, and she apologized and said she didn't want to accept someone as a stand-in fake replacement for her bio mom, but now she regrets it and would like a closer relationship, especially seeing how close her significant other is with his mom. We ended up having the conversation positively and I'm hoping things can improve going forward. I told her I'm a crazy bird lady and asked her if she still wants a relationship knowing that, and she said that after the wedding she's willing to travel to visit us if we have room, which we do. I'll leave this post up, but I'm happy either way and I'm glad the feedback here motivated me to make the call. What a healthy response. That is a relatively healthy adult, ladies and gentlemen. Now let me just double check. I want to make sure I'm not missing this. Yep, she recently invited me to come visit her for a week to help make wedding plans and spend time with her 2-year-old. I declined, and she insisted to know why, acting very hurt and explained the parrot. Well, it all just went downhill from there. Well, also, you also mentioned not wanting to take off work, that this is just, it's a big expectation for someone to leave their life for a week to help you plan a wedding, right? This is a case where the bride's getting pretty wrapped up in her own head. Well, so I'm with the OP on this one. I don't think it's just a parrot situation, but let's read the comments, shall we? Question, are you literally never going to leave the bird ever again? If so, that's not healthy. For the OP or the bird? I don't know anything about the cause, but I have watched Rio and Rio 2. So you can tell how much research I've put into this. I'm emotionally invested in birds that I'll never own. No, I'm working her up to eventually being more independent, but it takes a long time to heal trauma with these birds. They have very strong memories. They've only recently reached a point where she's finally becoming more comfortable. Well, it sounds like you're pretty knowledgeable in this area. Unless you know parrots in general and how people finicky they can be, especially abused ones, this isn't an animal you can simply drop off at a pet sitter. OP could lose the previously abused bird's trust if the bird thinks OP has abandoned them. Same time, you are already associating bonding as being a free babysitter. That's fair. Also, a last-minute one at that. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Just sounded a little callous, but then again, you are not obligated to be her babysitter, not the a-hole. Ooh, I guess this one boils down to what kind of future relationship you want with your stepdaughter and grandchildren. If you really don't care about them, then go right ahead and prioritize your bird. Personally, you are the a-hole for the line about not visiting her in 4 years. So the fact that she was pregnant then with a 1 to 2-year-old doesn't grant her grace for not visiting more often. Stuff like this rips families apart. Think about what you want the future to look like. I think that this is a callous response. I think that there could be a lot more, again, grace poured over this one specifically. But I do think that there's a couple things to note here, right? Like, neither one of you are visiting each other, right? Like, let's not fool ourselves about the intimacy of this relationship. It's not like you guys are going to play with each other's hair and gab about American Idol. And yes, I'm watching Devil Wears Prada again, so sue me, all right? But I don't think we're under any sort of false pretenses here until the stepdaughter started slinging stuff about, like, the inadequacy of the relationship. I think both of you are on the same page. Neither one of you visited each other. I've got a 5-month-old and I can barely leave the house. I totally get the stepdaughter not coming to visit, and I understand that you guys just don't have that kind of relationship. Let's call a spade here. But I don't think that the OP is an a-hole in this situation simply because we're calling a spade. They're not close, and that's okay, and we need to give grace on that situation. And I don't think that the OP is making it specifically about the bird. I think the bird is a part of the situation. Someone we know and love is having a destination wedding coming up pretty soon, and we can't attend it. We're a family of 6. We literally have dozens of animals on our property. We can't afford the flights. We can't afford the stay. We can't afford to leave the animals because a farm sitter is really expensive, and getting a farm sitter that knows how to milk goats is also, slightly complicated. So there's nuances to this, and I agree with the edits that the OP put that, like, there's some of this you just can't discuss on Reddit, and that's why I like talking about these, because a lot of people get into wedding planning and they think it's just going to be one thing, and then all of a sudden emotions and people come out of the woodwork and you're like, I was not expecting this. Yikes. So, I don't know what that noise was. Yikes. Moving on. So I don't think that the OP is the a-hole here. I think that, signing up for a complicated animal or complicated animals, like motioning to where our goats are, means that you're signing up for a different lifestyle. And I get that. Neither one of them visited each other. I think the stepdaughter was behaving inappropriately by slaying some of that stuff out. And I think that the OP took the correct approach in having a conversation with her about this and saying, yes, I will be here for you. I will have this conversation digitally. But I don't think that the OP is replacing a pseudo relationship with her stepdaughter with a macaw. Next. Am I the a-hole for refusing to listen up to my mother-in-law's speech on my wedding? Reddit says you're not, but it's not looking good. So I hate speeches. I never understood the appeal. I think that they're boring, exhausting, and very, very forced. But having said that, this is just my opinion, and I never force it on anyone. I have sat through long excoriating? Do we mean excruciating? Is excoriating a word? Moving on. Speeches without complaining like any other decent human being. Sure. I think we've all been there. Like, if you graduated anything, and they just, give the mic to so many people, and they just keep talking. When it was my turn to get married, however, I requested no speeches. We wrote that we loved everyone and that we knew they loved us, so if you want to say anything, say it to us directly in private. My husband thought it was funny, but he knew my feelings about speeches, right? We had a small wedding with only loved ones. A weekend long. My husband loves games, so the wedding planner did a really great Taskmaster type of games, and everyone appreciated it. Dinner came, and my mother-in-law stood up and started by saying, I know we are forbidden to make speeches by the bride, but this is my only son getting married, so I will do what I want to. I didn't hear the rest because I was seeing red. My sisters and bridesmaids were shocked. I pretended like she wasn't talking and continued my conversation with my girls. They did the same. Well, you know what? A great way to beat pettiness is to just give more pettiness. Mother-in-law was furious. Both sister-in-laws were furious, and my husband was very angry that it showed in his profile. He refused to look at me. The rest of the night was awkward. My husband sighed, sulking in their seats. I wanted to make sure it wasn't ruined for the rest of us, and we ended up having a blast. Next day, I spent it with my family and friends. Woo! Okay, waffle on the floor. If you know, you know. My husband said that I was very wrong in what I did. I couldn't force mother-in-law to shut the F up. And he knew she wouldn't no matter what we told her. I shouldn't have disrespected and humiliated her like this. Our marriage started off on the wrong foot, it seems. Am I the a-hole? P.S. Mother-in-law loves making speeches, sometimes 15 minutes long, and not unusually mean speeches. That's a double negative, so that means usually mean speeches. Okay. It took me a second. Baby's still not sleeping through the night, so it takes me a second to remember the English language. Disguises humor that often isn't appreciated at all by the speaky. Okay, so I'm glad that you addressed the fact that you should not have handled it that way, because I don't think that the correct way of responding to pettiness, especially on a wedding day that is very much a production and all eyeballs are on the activities that are happening right there, that was not the time to put your stick in the mud. That was not the time to die on that hill, right? That was not the time to have that emotional reaction. You see that, it happened, obviously. There's nothing we can do about it. But first, let's get to my opinion of the situation. Mother-in-law overstepped, for sure. This is a problem. You said no speeches. She gave one anyways. You probably should have sat there and not said anything, right? In my opinion, if you disagree, please, I invite you to comment on that down below. I don't think talking over her was the correct approach. I think that this could have been handled in a much more discreet manner, in the same way that she should have given you that respect of being discreet and not giving a speech. That was rude. That was uncalled for, and you are well within your rights to be frustrated by that. But I don't think that it warrants your response. So that's a pretty simple explanation. Let's go ahead and jump on into the Redditors' thoughts, shall we? Well, that's unfortunate that the day you got married, you found out your husband's always going to pick his mom over you. Such disrespect from mother-in-law, not the a-hole. Okay. That's not the same thing. I really hope not, because the bride then talking over the mother-in-law's speech is just responding to pettiness with pettiness. Maybe the groom was just frustrated by that specifically, not siding with his mother, but that didn't warrant the bride's behavior. So she's within her rights to have those feelings, but I don't think she should have reacted that way. I really hope not. He has always said his mom is stubborn, etc., and she did what she wanted, for me, it is no problem as long as she is willing to take the consequences of her stubbornness. I didn't know it meant that the rest of us should lay flat. I don't know what that means. Soft, everyone sucks here. She did the one thing you told her not to do, but the wedding is not all about you. Correct. Your husband is another person and has a family of people as well, and you were petty to them. Correct. I would have just left the room with friends. That's still petty. I wouldn't have done that either. I would have just sat there and had the conversation later. But that's just me. What would you have done in this situation? Would you have talked over the mother-in-law? Would you have left the room, or would you have just sat there and discussed it later? Let me know in the comments. But then again, she was rude to you, firing the first shot while acknowledging that she was blatantly ignoring your wishes. Yeah, everyone sucks here. Mother-in-law is entitled, I'll do what I want, and sucks a heck of a lot more, but everyone sucks. Okay. A lot of you aren't happily married here, and it shows. I agree. Everyone sucks here. OP, you just got married. You're going to have to learn to pick your battles. What would have made you not the a-hole is if you and your little friends had grit your teeth and bore it. Oh, it's aggressive language, but not incorrect. And try to enjoy the rest of your wedding. Hopefully, you'll only have one. Shots fired! Then here is what would have happened. You could go to your husband and say, I had one request. It was easy. My own family respected it. Even though it was tough for them, it was our wedding, our day, and your mom used it to play some weird power game and blatantly disrespect my wishes. I'm upset and I want to set some boundaries. Yes, I love the boundaries word. Then you can detail something that is satisfactory to you. You now have calmly communicated what you needed, how you were disrespected, and how your husband can rectify it, ideally with things he can control. I like this response. You have the upper hand. Instead, you chose to make a public scene and match her terrible behavior and put him in a triangulated conflict between you both. He will not win. Yes, he is not the a-hole here. He doesn't know how to handle it. He might suck, but he's not the a-hole here either. You entered into a very serious, very adult, and very legally binding situation with someone. Unfortunately, many of us have mother-in-laws from hell, myself included. You must be very mature from now on and very smart, not because of respect for family or elders, but you have to learn how to best advance your self-interest. The petty side of me and the exhausted daughter-in-law is howling at how you and your friends handled it. I get it, but it was short-sighted and immature. Ha ha ha. Yeah. You have a marriage to tend to now, and you'll have to be very careful about how to handle these things. Divorce is expensive, and an unhappy marriage will ruin your life. I don't think anyone's going that far, but thank you for rounding it out so nicely at the end. Edit. Thank you so much for the award. Everyone, I understand OP's frustration, but to quote the great philosopher Usher Raymond, situations will arise in our lives, but you got to be smart about it. Usher, really? There are many ways to set boundaries that don't include burning tens of bridges at once. Everyone sucks here. Your husband for not standing up to you during the wedding planning and saying he wanted his mother to give a speech at the wedding, which in my opinion is totally reasonable. I mean, the whole not giving speeches thing is like not normal necessarily from what I've seen, but like you're within your rights to ask for that. She clearly broke, whatever. She stinks. She's a stinker. Mother-in-law sucks for crossing the boundary, and you for being rude AF in front of everyone. I don't know. What would you have done? I would have held my tongue. And last, but most certainly not least, am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for my daughter's wedding because she won't let me walk her down the aisle? Well, if we're going off the title alone, there's a lot to unpack here, but according to Reddit, you are not the a-hole. Let's dive in, shall we? I'm a 48-year-old man, and my 19-year-old daughter has always been an independent thinker. I raised her to be independent and think for herself, which is an independent thinker. Sorry, but we're already repeating ourselves and we're on the second sentence, which I've always appreciated. However, we recently hit a bit of a snag. She got engaged and decided she doesn't want me to walk her down the aisle at her wedding. She argues that her mother and I don't own her. I'm doing that so you can see the quotes. Therefore, we have no right to give her away. I feel hurt by this because we've never treated her like an object or a piece of property. Rather, we've tried our best to provide her with a wonderful life. This is a very nuanced and opinionated situation. People get spicy about being given away on their wedding day. Some people care, some people don't. Some people care deeply. I think we've met one of them. Her stance seems extreme to me, and despite discussions, she's refusing to budge on the issue. I respect her choices, but I feel she's disregarding our feelings completely. As a response, I told her that if she feels that way, then I won't be paying for her wedding. I don't want to come across as controlling or manipulative. It's true, I don't own her. I also don't owe her a fully funded wedding. She can pay for her own wedding if she's insistent on this stance. I feel quite conflicted about this. Am I the a-hole? Okay, The AITA started there, and then we've got paragraphs of an edit. Okay, so let's read that first, just in case, although it might give us a little sneak peek into like what some of the commentary is, but I want the full picture. Edit. So this isn't about making the wedding about me, walking down the aisle while all eyes are on her anyway, and then sitting down is hardly making the wedding about me. It's about her attitude. She had every opportunity in life so far, and to exclude me from this day is a spit in the face. It's a rejection of everything we've done for her, sacrificed for her, given her. It's selfish. This part's quotes. 90% of wedding traditions and symbolism had roots in things we didn't acknowledge today. Should we stop all of them? The rings, the flowers, the dress, the wedding party, the cake, the flower girls. A father walking his daughter down the aisle has been about respect, pride, love, and honoring the father-daughter relationship for far longer than it has been about ownership. I wonder where that quote's from. Independent thinking does not mean rude or selfish thinking. Being an independent thinker does not give someone the license to disregard or disrespect the thoughts, feelings, or perspectives of others. Independent thinking is about maintaining the ability to think critically and form one's own opinion while remaining respectful and considerate of the others. It's a balance between asserting individuality and engaging in meaningful and respectful interactions with others. Edit number 2. Also, note that our relationship is not so weak that this disagreement will ruin our relationship. We are still close with each other in spite of this. There is zero chance of her not inviting us to her wedding, regardless of who pays for it, or cutting off contact and withholding grandchildren. I feel sorry for anyone who suggests that is a possibility. Likewise, there is zero chance of us refusing to go to the wedding or cutting her out of the will. In life, people disagree, even strongly. It's a natural part of life. We don't end lifelong relationships over it. Update. This is... Okay. He really wants to make sure we get all of the information before we get into this, right? For the you're the a-hole people out there, I've decided to give my daughter a gift the same amount as her older sister's wedding cost. She can use this for whatever she wants. For the not the a-hole people out there, thanks. Most of you get it. My daughter has also agreed to figure out a way to include us in the wedding that doesn't involve giving her away. We are still in the early wedding planning stages. She is almost 20, so she will likely be 21 before the actual marriage. Thanks for the concern, I guess. I approve of the groom-to-be if that matters to anyone. We disagree, but that doesn't mean it's a relationship-ending event. My daughter is laughing hilariously at all of you that are saying she will disinvite us from the wedding or cut us off from grandkids. I just feel sorry for you all. That is petty and manipulative, and regardless of what you say, I've raised her to be better than that. Okay. Let's get into this. So the whole giving away aspect is actually, it is rooted in tradition where where a father is literally giving his daughter away. Now it's less of, giving away property, although some people still really feel that way about it specifically, and so they don't want that part to be involved. So they choose to walk down the aisle by themselves at their wedding, or walk down with their soon-to-be spouse, or walk down with their mother, or walk down with like a father-type figure, or they still have their dad walk them down, but they don't have the moment where the officiant says, who gives this woman to be married to this man? They just get rid of that. They don't say it. So you're not being given away. You still have the escort process of your dad walking with you or whomever walking with you if you choose to. It's one of those things to me, like it only has meaning if you assign it to it. And if you assign it to it, you are well within your rights to not do it or to not implement it because you're like, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. No, thank you. Good. Great. You were allowed to do that, and I affirm you. I hope, I'm not trying to be dismissive. I do affirm you in that. I didn't have that feeling. My dad gave me away at my wedding, and I loved it. Walking down the aisle with my dad, that moment that him and I had before I walked down the aisle and no one could see us yet, I will never forget that moment. And that was precious to me, and I loved it. So I think my dad would have been deeply hurt if I didn't give him that opportunity. I think that if the daughter of the OP didn't want that moment, there's a lot of ways that she probably could have handled this a little bit differently, and there's a lot of ways that OP could have handled this differently, right? And just been like, well, that part's important to me. Can I do something with you? Like, that hurts. My feelings are hurt. So many times we like head straight to reaction instead of talking about how it makes us feel, and I'm not like a let's talk about your feelings type of person. Maybe I am, but like I don't mean it in like a everything has to be about feelings. But I do think that when we go straight to the reactive of like, well, then I'm not paying for your wedding. Clearly, OP has got the situation figured out with his daughter. They're going to be fine according to his edits. I'm not worried about their relationship. But I do think oftentimes we react first and then ask questions later. It doesn't provide the opportunity for like us to avoid huge missteps. So I get where the OP is coming in this situation. I get that that's important to him. But it also sounds like he said no. My no is no. I'm going to gift you the money. You can do whatever you want for it. So it sounds like he kind of went back on not paying. He's going to. But it sounds like his feelings were hurt. And I hope that his daughter can hear that and they can have a great conversation about it. But I think that this is something we talked about in another one of these AITA videos where, this stuff is nuanced. Or was it in this one? I don't remember. Relationships are nuanced. These situations are nuanced. I don't think, obviously, there's going to be no disowning happening here. But, if the dad's feelings are hurt, he's within his rights to be like, if you want to be independent and pay for your own wedding. Like, that hurt my feelings. So I don't have to give you money. You know? I think it's nuanced. I think a lot of people are going to have opinions on that, and I welcome that in the comments below. While you're typing, I'm going to go ahead and get down to what the people are saying on Reddit, or were saying 3 months ago, because I don't stay on top of these. I only read them for these videos. Not the a-hole. You heard her. She's independent. Independent people deal with their own bills. Exactly. You don't own her. Why are you paying for a wedding to give away a possession you don't own? Not the a-hole, and less financial stress for you. She's 19 and getting married. Odds are you'll have more chances, not the a-hole. Honestly, the reason I wouldn't pay for the wedding wouldn't be because she doesn't want you to walk her down the aisle. It would be because she's 19. Maybe they really will be together forever, but if they truly believe they can grow up together a little bit before making that big of a commitment. Edit. Y'all, I'm not saying it's impossible for things to work out for 19-year-olds getting married. You don't have to keep using your grandma as an example. I also have been with my husband since we were 19, 20, but we waited until we were 25, 26 to get married, and as we both knew enough to know we weren't ready for the commitment and sacrifice that comes with marriage at a young age. This 19-year-old does not appear to display the maturity to make a lifelong commitment. She wants to get rid of the tradition of having her dad give her away, but not her parents' dowry of paying for a wedding. I'm all for being independent and wanting to move away from traditional practices if they don't align with your beliefs, but you don't get to cherry pick only practices that benefit you. I stand by my original comment. This is the best response. 19 is way too young to get married. OP can save his money and help pay for his daughter's divorce attorney in a year or two when the infatuation wears off. That was too far. I don't like that. Okay, last one. I can understand why your feelings are hurt. However, were you planning on paying for the wedding as a gift to your child to celebrate their marriage, or because you would get to symbolically give your child away to a spouse? Were you only going to fund the wedding because you own your child? Therefore, if you don't own your child, you don't owe paying for a wedding per your attempt at throwing in your child's face their stated reason for not wanting to be given away. It's like a lot of words. I like words. I like reading, but that just was like a weird amalgamation of words. Your child isn't saying that you treated your children like property, but they probably see the symbolism and where this tradition stems from and don't wish to participate. To try to respect your child's independent thinking and point of view, you shouldn't expect your children to always compromise their principles because of your feelings. What? He's not expecting them to always compromise their principles because of his feelings. It's just a one-time request is not a permanent life change. Okay. That said, I don't think people should expect weddings are paid for by parents, but if there was a reasonable expectation because you funded a sibling wedding, it's not fair for the gift to be contingent on this one thing that is clearly important to your independent thinker. Maybe you can talk about other ways you can be involved in the wedding, especially as tradition doesn't seem to be that important to your child. Always choose listening and talking it out over threats and ultimatums. And it doesn't count as talking it out if the parties are only talking to convince, not listening and trying to understand the other's point of view. Someone responded, right? Just because he doesn't see her as property doesn't mean the tradition isn't rooting in just that very concept. You're the a-hole, OP, and doubly so for then basically holding what should be a goodwill gesture / gift hostage just so you can get your old-fashioned way. Don't act shocked if you're not invited based on this. Whoa. Weddings are nuanced. Relationships are nuanced. Weddings are hard. I don't know, guys. It's got some stuff going for it that, would need some processing through. I think it sounds like OP and daughter figured it out just fine. And I'm glad OP left it up for us to go over together and read about. What would you have done in this situation if you were OP? What would you have done in this situation if you were the daughter? But I can say with full surety that I don't think that the OP is intending to be, nor will he continue to be any sort of a-hole in the situation. I think he's trying. And I think that that's good that they're continuing to have the conversation and that the relationship will not be ruined over something that was a very entertaining Reddit thread. So that's what we have for this week's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching and for stopping by. If you are struggling with a parent and this was not funny, right? I'm so sorry. But if you're struggling with a parent and you need someone to talk to about this, we have live office hours in the master plan. We are trained wedding planners that know what these relationships can look like. I am telling you, it is not often the couple that I have an issue with. I don't have bridezillas. I have had parentzillas for sure. So if you just need someone to talk to, please come join us in the master plan. We've got live office hours every single week. There's a wedding planner there to not only help you figure out how to plan your wedding, but help you navigate this stuff because this is hard. and you deserve to have someone listen to you because a wedding is stressful, but you deserve a stress-free wedding day, all right? So the master plan is a monthly subscription. You can join for as little or as long as you want. Most people get in there and hang out for a couple months because it is action-packed with how to plan your wedding effectively without the cost of a real-life wedding planner, because we be expensive like that. So if you haven't done so already, jump on down there, hit that like button, and subscribe to this channel for more tips and tricks for the modern day bride. And until next time, bye guys.